Okay. So we are in chapter 5, text 25. So just to recap, we have been coming from continuation of text 18, where Krishna explains that a humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned, a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, a dog eater. And we are continuing in that direction of the humble sage. What does it mean? Well, just a recap some of the translations only, so we can find a continuity within the verses. Those who those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the condition of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So they don't distinguish, between. That doesn't mean they don't drink poison or they do crazy things. It means in their mind there is equanimity and sameness. So they see Krishna's presence in every living entity. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Right? So somebody who knows that it's all about change, the material world, like in chapter 2, text 14, Krishna says that just like there is summer, winter will come. When there's winter, summer will come. When there's happiness, distress will come. There's distress, happiness will come. So knowing this, such a person with equanimity does not rejoice in achieving something or lament upon losing something. They take it as a fact of life. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect them. If somebody dies, it doesn't mean you don't shed a few tears. You do. You're not stone. But at the same time, we understand the realities and the realities of material life as given by Krishna. One has a full realization of it, and thereby one understands this is inevitable. This is how it is supposed to be: birth, death, old age, disease, change, etc., etc. A person who neither is we got that. And then comes, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the supreme. So, like I mentioned, they're having a party within, right? They're having a wonderful exchange with the Supreme Lord within. So what's happening externally doesn't control how they feel with it, whether good things are happening, economy is rising, or coronavirus pandemic, everything is crashing. Regardless of all that, a pure devotee is always blissful, because internally they're connecting. Their source of happiness is their relationship with Krishna and Krishna's pleasure. So internally they're interacting with Paramatma, with Krishna, and thus thereby they are always happy regardless of what is happening externally. Right? So for us, things, if we have a job, if we get a promotion, if we do well in life, we are happy. If not, things are not going, we get depressed. But for a person of that level, equal vision, learned knowledge sage, that's not a consideration. That doesn't affect them. That doesn't mean they're oblivious to it. It means it doesn't affect them. They know what is happening. They know the realities of the situation, but it is not something that can pull them down. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the supreme. If you focus on something that is limited, something that's temporary, then happiness is limited. If we connect with Krishna, then happiness is unlimited. There is no limit to how much we can be enjoying. So, for example, just to give a real life explanation of this, the Maharaj Parikshit, when he heard that he's going to die in 7 days, he has been cursed to die in 7 days. Guess what? His first thought was, Krishna is so kind. He didn't think, oh my God, my family, my kingdom, my this, my that. How could God do this to me? Nothing like that. He said, Krishna gave me 7 days to get my act together, focus my mind on him, and leave this planet thinking of him. Krishna is so kind. Now imagine somebody thinking, gets a notice that, oh, somebody has gotten cancer and they're going to die in a year or in 6 months. Immediately the thought goes into blaming, fear, anxiety, all of that. Parikshit Maharaj, he immediately tells his son, you're going to be king. He takes off his royal garments, puts on the garment of a mendicant, and he walks towards, I think, the Sarayu River. I think so. No, Saray River is for Lord Ramachandra. I forget which river, but he walks towards the river, and then Srimad Bhagavatam starts being reciting, and he hears that for 7 days, 7 nights, no rest, no food. He's just absorbed in hearing Hari Katha, Krishna Katha, and thereby at the end of the 7th day, he goes back home, back to Godhead. So, very real example of a person who's not bothered by externals, rather sees everything as Krishna's mercy, good or bad. Even his own death, he sees as Krishna's mercy. The same thing was in the case of Ambarish Maharaj. When Durvasa Muni tried to kill him, Durvasa Muni pulled out his hair and created a fire demon. A fire demon started hurling at Ambarish Maharaj to kill him. Ambarish Maharaj, it is described in the scriptures, no heartbeat change, no change in fear or whatnot. Like, okay, if I have to die, Krishna has decided, I will die. If I have to live, Krishna decides and I will live. And immediately the Sudarshan Chakra comes and kills the fire demon. And then the Sudarshan Chakra goes after Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni starts running. Anyway, the point in both cases, or any case of whether it's Prahlad Maharaj falling from the cliff, no change. They're like complete, full faith in Krishna, right? So external situations don't affect their happiness, their fear, because their fearlessness, their happiness is coming from their relationship and their faith in regards to Krishna. So we might not be able to appreciate what that is, because most of us are not there. Some of us might be, but most of us are not there. But still, we can aspire for such a mentality, and that is what Krishna is giving us in the Bhagavad Gita. So we know what to expect, where we are heading. Just like when you become a doctor, there's you look at life in a certain way. So only when you know that this is what it means to be a doctor, right? So you pursue that degree and you get your internship, you get your whatever, and residency and whatnot, and you become a full-time doctor. So similarly, in any profession, you wouldn't pursue the profession unless you knew the benefits of it, right? So similarly, in here also Krishna is showcasing what the benefit is and how such a humble sage who has equal vision, right? How such a person is. An intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So, what does that mean? Should we not showcase gratitude to Krishna? Thank you for the wonderful car, or thank you for allowing me the privilege to have wonderful food, or a nice home, or whatever. No, we show gratitude, but we don't hinge our happiness on it, because for most of you who own a car, I'm sure first time you own a car, one scratch and you feel like you're bleeding, right? I have gone through that myself, and growing in Krishna consciousness, one learns to take care of the car, but not feel that pain as if the car is part of my body, because it's not, right? At the same time, you don't disregard what Krishna has given you. You don't crash your car into other cars just because, oh, it's not my car, I'm detached from it. No, you take care of it as Krishna's. So you're not attached as it's mine. It's Krishna, so I should take care of it even more, right? Like this body. Shaikat was asking in the Philosophy Friday group the other day that should we take care of the body? Should we take care of our health? Certainly we should. In what consciousness? That this body is the instrument by which we can serve Krishna. If I don't have the right voice, how can I speak about Gita? If I don't have the physical strength, how can I worship? How can I chant? How can I do anything? How can I think? Right? So we need to take care of this body, eat right, do everything to make sure that we can use it as an instrument in service to Krishna. Just like we clean Krishna's dishes, we clean the bell, we take care of the altar, right? Why? Because that's the instrument of serving Krishna. Same with the body, same with the mind, same with the intelligence, same with our car, same with our house. Everything we have, the whole world for a devotee is an instrument to serve Krishna, right? And if it is not an instrument to serve Krishna, then it's useless. Then it's useless. So it's important to understand that let's say, for example, if one is spending money on a fur coat, not saying you shouldn't wear or you should, I'm no one to tell you. First of all, it's very much of a cruelty factor. It's derived from animals and all that. But regardless, is it really serving a purpose of service? Maybe, maybe not. Most likely not. So is it a good investment to make? So we should always calibrate ourselves that where am I putting in money? Where am I investing? What am I doing? And based on that, figure out what we do in life. Is it aligned in my service to Krishna or is it not? Of course, many things we would be doing are not aligned, and that's where we are. So better be honest than feel guilt that, oh. So tell Krishna, my dear Krishna, I am in this situation. This is where I am. And in this situation, this is what my reality is. I'm not a pure devotee, but I want to be a pure devotee. My dear Krishna, please help me. If you so desire, kindly allow me to chant your holy name. Kindly allow me to serve you. Kindly allow me to come to the consciousness that I'm reading of a Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. That would be wonderful to be that person. But I'm not there yet. And so given where I am, these are my needs. And if you so desire, kindly help me fulfill my desires. Right? So they might be material desires. And many people, ISKCON devotees, on YouTube, if you go, you'll be like, no material desires, right? And the people saying that probably have a lot of material desires too. So what my learning has been, what my training has been in Krishna consciousness is don't be dishonest with Krishna. And I'll share something very ugly with you about this misconception. In as much as we are proud of our organization, the Hare Krishna movement, ISKCON as an organization, it is also a fact that this organization has the highest divorce rates, 70% divorce rate. And that's what I've heard from a sannyasi. I don't know, I don't have a way to back it up, but that's what I've heard. It's a very high divorce rate organization. And the reason why that happens is because of this. You read this book and you think, oh, so I should not do this, and I should not do this, and I should do this, and I should. And guess what? We're not there yet. So we are thinking here, we are reading here, but we are here. And we try to be here. Now, what happens between the husband and the wife? The wife is trying to be this way, and the husband is like, but I'm not there yet. Or the husband is trying to be a pure devotee. The wife is like, I'm not there yet. I have my needs. And as a result, between them, there is a difficulty in decision making. There's difficulty in intimate life. There's difficulty in food and difficulty in all kinds of lifestyle issues. And as a result, one person burns out and says, sorry, I can't live with you anymore. Moving out of Krishna consciousness and moving out of your life also. And that happens pretty much a lot, unfortunately. As much as we have the best philosophy, due to misunderstanding and misapplication of the philosophy, people do suffer a lot. So that's why I'm suggesting don't try to be self-righteous. We have something in ISKCON called the pure devotee syndrome. Don't get in the pure devotee syndrome, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm a this Raga Nuga Bhakta, or I'm a this and I'm a that. Yeah, you're reading all that, but realization is a whole different thing, right? So first get the realization, get guidance, validate the realization, and go slow. If you cook something slowly, it gets cooked from outside as well as inside. You turn on the heat too much, the outside gets cooked or burnt, and the inside is not cooked. So it's important. Too slow is also not good. That's why we need somebody to guide us individually, so that we are moving at a steady pace, not too slow, not too hot. Right? So this is very important to understand. So when you are in front of Krishna, be honest. Pray to him in an honest way. Yes, we are not supposed to pray for material desires, but it's much better to pray to Krishna for material desires than to pray to Ganesh for material desires, or pray to some other demigod for material desires. Krishna says, "Kamasthasya ritagyana bhajate anna devata." Don't worship other demigods. He doesn't like it. But he says, if you come to me, Artharthi also, if you're coming with your money also, I still consider you a Mahatma. So you come to Krishna for material desires, he will consider you a Mahatma, and slowly he will take your material desires and he will use that to purify you, which he has done for me. I can tell you first person, I have a person who used to have a lot of material desire and still does. And Krishna has always used this as a hook to purify me through the process and bring me closer to him. And that's the beauty of Krishna's intelligence, right? Demigods will not do that. Demigods will give you what is in your karma, done and dusted. Hey, you want this? It's in your karma. Here you go. If it's not in your karma, sorry, can't give it to you. No matter how many coconuts you break, I cannot give it to you if it's not in your karma. Krishna is not like that. Krishna is like, even if it is in your karma, I will make it a little hard for you to get it. Because in that process, you will learn something. You will get some qualities. You will come closer to me. You'll pray to me more. And thereby, you and I will get closer. Right? That's how Krishna activates this process. And in some cases, he might just give it to us very quickly and be like, whoa, this process of Krishna consciousness is amazing. Right? And you're like, Krishna really exists. And maybe that's a need. And that's a validation we need at our state of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna knows exactly how to give us what we need so that the faith grows as well as the qualities also grow. Because he's thoughtfully thinking of us like a loving father. Aham bija pradapitaha. I am the seed-giving father, he says in Bhagavad Gita. So he's thinking as a father. Just like you go to a father and say, I want money to buy this, dad will ask you, what do you need the money for? Just to make sure, you're not buying it for something that will hurt you, right? So similarly, Krishna is going to be a little bit cautious of, I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to make sure that you have the right qualities to use it in the right way. That doesn't mean he'll manipulate you. That doesn't mean he'll, choke you. No, he gives you freedom, but he also gives you the qualities so you can use your freedom wisely. You can use your intelligence wisely. He'll give you good friends who can give you good guidance so you can use your freedom wisely. Whereas a demigod will be like, it's in your karma, here you go. Bank teller or a shopping mart, you go, you pay your credit card, whatever you want, they'll give it to you. No questions asked. You want alcohol? You got it. You want cabbage? You got it. You want potatoes? You got it. You want a knife? Sure, go for it. Nobody's going to question you. So there's a difference between the two. So we have to be honest, approach Krishna in a very honest way, pray to Krishna that this is where I am, this is where I want to be, but given where I am, this is my desire, my dear Krishna. I will not go to anybody else. You are my exclusive shelter. So if you take care of it, I will have it. If you don't take care of it, then fine. That is your wish. But my shelter is you. And that's what all I know is you. So next verse. Before giving up the present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So you have plenty of time, but don't wait for the time till you leave your body. Krishna said, even just before leaving the material body, if one is able to tolerate one's urges and the material senses, so urges meaning I like to hear this, see this, touch this, feel this, etc., etc. And there are various things, various urges we have. Constantly, our senses are bombarding us. So Krishna is saying, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, right? So, for example, Ekadashi days. Every month we have 2 Ekadashis. On those days, we don't eat certain food. We don't do certain things. We don't, of course, most of us shouldn't be drinking anyway, but it is said no meat, no alcohol on those days, no sex on those days, etc., etc. So Ekadashis, now Akshaya Tritiya, in Bengal it's tomorrow, other parts of India it's today. Special day, you do certain special things. Or Ram Navami, or Narsingha Chaturdashi coming up in May. These are special days where we do certain things, and we, even if the urge is there, we don't give in to the urge because it's a special day. And I want to be in my best behavior. I want to be in a pure state of consciousness. I want to be able to chant a little extra rounds, etc., etc. Right? So what happens is, because it's a special day, we control our senses, control our urges, and this is practice. So Krishna is helping us. This is a process of practicing, so that we slowly learn to control our urges. So when it comes to anger, lust, greed, envy, pride, all of these, when it hits us, we don't give in. We have the ability to capture it, control it, say, hold on, let me breathe in, breathe out, let me chant a couple of rounds, calm down, and with the optimal state of mind, make decision. Generally, what happens when you're angry? Somebody writes something ugly to you, you write back something ugly. But when you are studying this, you learn, I should not just respond because I'm angry right now, and I'll say something I'll regret later on. Let me come to an optimal state of mind. Let me give it time, 15 minutes. Let me drink some water. Let me walk around. Let me chant one round, perhaps. Right? Slowly, breathing in, breathing out. Now you're calm. Now you respond with a thoughtful mind. You will see, you will always, almost always, you will be able to give a much better answer, much better response, much more effective response that actually has a better outcome than showing my daddy is better than your daddy. Generally, the arguments go in this direction. I am right. No, I am right. No, I am right. No, I am right. Right? Both sides are trying to prove their ego. It's the ego war. In the outcome is nothing. At the end of the day, somebody with a louder voice will go around thinking, "Ha, dikha diya main kaun hu." Showed them who's the boss. Ha ha ha. But really, who got anything out of it? Nothing. But if you're thinking calmly, be like, what do I want out of it? What does this person want out of it? And how do I get what I want? Is shouting the best way? Is negotiating the best way? Is threatening the best way? Is silence the best way? You'll be able to think all those options. When you're angry, you're not even thinking. You said this, I said this. Right? I'm a victim to it, and all of us are. But slowly, we try to get better and better at this, so that we can make decisions with the optimal mind. Calm mind always makes better decisions. One whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme, and ultimately he attains the supreme. So again, Krishna is stating that if your happiness is within, right, who is active and rejoices within. Active, it's not like I'm just sleeping all day and I'm very happy. No, actively happy within by interactions with super soul, with Paramatma, right? Such a person whose aim is inward actually is a perfect mistake. So most yogis, this is called sadhana siddhi, right? So people at the highest level of yoga, they're in that siddhi stage, right? Perfection, they've attained perfection. That means they're directly in contact with Paramatma. And in Bhakti Yoga, we are directly in contact with Krishna always. We are in Siddhi mode because we are all the devotional services we are doing. My dear Krishna, this is for you. My dear Shrimati Radharani, this is your kitchen. Let me assist you in cooking for Krishna, right? Everything has a prayer mood to it. We are going to a business meeting. My dear Krishna, if you so desire, give me the right intelligence so that I can say the right things and come with the right outcomes. My dear Krishna, if you so desire, please allow me the right intelligence to make the right investment decisions. If you so desire, allow me to solve this problem creatively without causing any damage to the other person or to myself. Always devotees are praying in a prayerful mood. Any decision, any interaction, any action before we do, we are in a prayerful mood. And that allows us to always remain in Krishna consciousness, dependence on Krishna. This is a very important term, dependence on Krishna. I remember 4th of July is American Independence Day. And generally, my spiritual master gives a nice kind of weekend-long classes on that. And one time he mentioned, today is Independence Day. And today we declare our independence from Maya and dependence on Krishna. Right? I loved it. It's beautiful. So that generally we are dependent on Maya. Maya says, do you want to taste this, touch this, feel this, see this, right? Maya, modes of nature. And the other side, Krishna is where we are like, I'm not so sure, I'm independent of Krishna. But Maharaj was saying, declare a dependence on Krishna. My dear Krishna, please allow me to do this. My dear Krishna, please, if you give me intelligence, only then I can do it. My dear Krishna, if you give me the creativity, I can solve this problem. My dear Krishna, knowledge, whatever it is, always we are praying, and that is dependence. And that's what surrender is. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. That's why Krishna ends the Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto me. Aham tam sarva papebhyo. I'll take care of all your sinful reactions. Moksha shami. I'll liberate you. Don't worry. Masuchaha. Don't worry. I'm here. But the surrender looks like this. It comes through prayers. It comes through constant remembering Krishna at every stage, rather than I'm intelligent, I'll figure it out. Oh, I have enough money to fix that issue. Oh, not a big deal. Oh, I have great political connections. No problem. My uncle will take care of it. No, 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 no. In spite of all of that, even if one has it, one should always think, this is not that's going to fix it. It's Krishna's mercy that's going to fix it. And that's my shelter. That's why Ambarish Maharaj was completely, fearless. Prahlad Maharaj was completely fearless falling from the mountain. Parikshit Maharaj was fearless at the face of death because Krishna is there. Their shelter is Krishna. That's surrender. Right? And such a person is always happy. Internally, they're happy. Internally, they're rejoicing in their relationship with Krishna. And then comes today's verse. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So this is continuing of the humble sage by virtue of true vision sees with equality, right? So this humble sage continuum is coming to this point. Those who are beyond dualities. What does that mean? Good, bad. Happiness, sorrow. Day, night. Do it today, do it tomorrow, etc., etc. All this, there's always duality, always two ways to look at it. A devotee of that stature is not affected. Just give me a second. There's a call. So where was I? So dualities. So one is beyond the dualities, just like explained in chapter 2, text 14. The Krishna is saying there's always going to be dualities. Focus on what is constant, and constant is my relationship with you. Let that be your anchor. A boat, water is always flowing, right? So boat without an anchor will always flow away with the water, and then you will never find the boat. When you're anchored to something solid, and that is the land, you're anchored to the land, the boat will stay regardless of the high tide, low tide. So life will bring high tides and low tides, but anchor is a relationship with Krishna. I still remember we got cheated. My first startup, we got cheated massively by our developers in Macedonia. And my co-founder and I, at that time, we lost $10,000, which is a lot of money. Even now, it's a lot of money, but that time it meant a lot for us. And we were like, oh my God, what do we do? We're going to, this is going to be terrible. Investors are going to think we are fools, etc., etc. And my co-founder at the time, who's a devotee now, said, well, regardless of people think we are fool, Krishna will always love us unconditionally, regardless of who we are. So that gave me strength. I remember feeling so down and morose, being a young entrepreneur, making a stupid mistake. But then I felt uplifted. I felt uplifted by the fact that Krishna is there. And not only Krishna, Krishna's devotees also, my guru, my mentor. The spiritual relationships don't change by the fact that, I make a stupid thing or a good thing. Because when I make a stupid thing, everybody's like, ha ha, look at him, right? Tomorrow they're going to do a good thing. They'll be like, oh, wow, he's so good. But the relationship with Krishna and Krishna's devotees are not based on all that. It's completely unconditional, spiritual, and constant. And that's our strength. So all of you, most of you are entrepreneurs in this group. So remember, keep that in mind. A life for entrepreneurs is a roller coaster ride, right? And people are going to laugh at you. Your family is also not going to support you. There are going to be times. But Krishna is always there. And that's one person you can count on. And those who are directly connected to Krishna and who are helping you in your life, you can also count on them, who are Krishna's representatives in your lives, who will always be there unconditionally, regardless of what your material changes might be, good or bad. Sometimes what happens, my spiritual master told me, he said, Ajita, when you approach people and you want to help them, you want to help them grow in Krishna consciousness, they might close the door on your face. And that's okay. You wait outside the door and you wait for them to open the door and ask for help. But you wait. You should always be there, right? And that's the kind of training we have as devotees who are extending others to help them become Krishna conscious, is that even if there is a falling out in a relationship, let's say Venkatesh Prabhu, I say something to him and Venkatesh Prabhu is like, okay, I'm not talking to Ajita Prabhu anymore, done and dusted. That doesn't mean I'm not open to him. 10 years later, he comes back to me and says, Prabhu, how are you doing? I'll be like, I'm fine, how are you? And things will be going normal, because the relationship, I have never met Venkatesh Prabhu, but our relationship is based on Krishna in the center. So it doesn't matter, if the relationship sours. Point is, if somehow or other we can inspire each other in going towards Krishna, that's a success. And that's how it should be between all of us, right? Helping each other, holding each other's hand, inspiring each other. I know many of you have become friends on the WhatsApp group and you're interacting with each other, which is fantastic, right? And that's what we need. I know whenever somebody says there's a COVID situation, so many devotees are praying for them. It's wonderful. So we're building a community of devotees where we are helping each other, inspiring each other to grow in Krishna consciousness, go towards Krishna together. And that's beautiful. That's what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada said, ISKCON is a society, it's a house where the whole world can live, but only if we cooperate. When we fight, then this house will fall apart. But we cooperate and we stay together, then the whole world can live in this organization. And that's the goal of this, because when there is Krishna as one center, you see, just to give you another example from a spiritual master. So when you, in a pond, when you throw a stone, you will see one center and ripples coming out, right? We have, most of us have studied in physics also, the waves and whatnot, the ripples coming out. But if you throw two stones, guess what happens? The two stones have two ripples, and one ripple will fight with the other ripple and nullify them out, right? So you have seen the ripples actually hitting each other. And that's what happens. Little for me, little for Krishna. When the goal is one, the goal is Krishna in the center, then all the ripples, they actually amplify each other. But otherwise, if there's two centers, Krishna and something else, then there's always going to be a doubt. There's going to be fight. There's going to be difficulties. There's going to be self-doubt. There's going to be all kinds of problems. So the relationship should be Krishna in the center, and we are connected to each other through Krishna in the center. Thereby, the mood is service, seva. So whether it's husband-wife relationship, friendship, business relationship, whatever it is, between devotees I'm talking about. I'm not talking about outside world. Between devotees, the mood is, how can I serve you? Whenever you call me, most of you have called me, I've always respond, how can I serve you? And that's not a hollow statement. That's the mood of a devotee, that we call each other Prabhu. Men we call Prabhu, women we call Mataji. The reason why is Prabhu means, how may I serve you? That's the mood. You're my Prabhu, so I'm your servant and I want to serve you. Or you're Mataji, I am, here to serve you, right? So how can I serve you? That's the mentality when Krishna is in the picture. When Krishna is not there in picture, I'm the boss. How dare you talk to me like this, right? And it's really funny when devotees fight in a very materialistic way. So like, Prabhu, how could you say this? And you're calling the other person Prabhu, but you're shouting at them, right? That's really, if you think about it, that's really funny, because you're calling the other person your master, but you're treating them like your servant, right? So we should not just say it as lip service. We should actually believe it. We should actually internalize it, because this process, this lifestyle that we have in Krishna consciousness is very scientifically made for us to have a happy life. So those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Nice goal to have. Text 26. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in a very near future. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport gives a Bhagavatam quote. It's a really, Prabhupada many times mentioned it, so it's nice to remember it. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasha bhaktya karmasya karmasyam grahitam udgrahatyanti santah tadvan na rikto mateo yatayo piruddha shroto ganas tam aranam bhaja vasudevam. Just try to worship in devotional service Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the force of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep down desire for fruitive activities. If you look at the life of great sages like Durvasa Muni or Vishwamitra or great sages, so many people, you will always see that these sages who are not in bhakti yoga, they might be meditating for 10,000 years, 100,000 years, great tapasya, one ankle bell of Menaka, and they forget all their meditation. And suddenly, marries her and have children, and then wondering, completely forgot about all the meditation. Suddenly, Menaka reminds, hey, you know what? It's been 50 long years. I should go back to the heavenly planet. Oh, 50 years? I thought it was one night. No, 50 years, and you have so many children. And guess what? Menaka gets cursed. So unfair. The point is, these personalities are great personalities, no doubt. I'm not insulting anyone. But the point is, without bhakti, that tendency is always going to be in the heart. The tendency for sense pleasure, the tendency for sense gratification, because Maya is very strong. And great personalities, great sages, even doing great tapasya, little bit of ankle bell, gone. One sage underwater meditating for 10,000 years sees two fish fornicating, and they're like, sex desire comes in the heart, gets out of the water, marries a bunch of people, a bunch of women, and and all of that. Right? So very quickly they can be demotivated from their path. But a devotee, on the other hand, is very hard to demotivate, because in a devotee's case, those tendencies are uprooted by uh, by the process of bhakti. And what is instilled inside is Krishna bhakti. So something permanent is instilled and something temporary is moved. And that's why this is a permanent process. Karma yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga are not permanent processes. You will get to a certain level, but the fall down rates are very, very high. In the bhakti process, it's the easiest and the fall down rates are not as high. The reason why is, A, it requires humility, dependence on Krishna, dependence on somebody who's the most powerful. The other three, if you see, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, the dependence is on your ability. If you don't have too much intelligence, in Kali Yoga most people don't, Jnana Yoga is very difficult to achieve. Karma Yoga, it requires certain controls. Ashtanga Yoga, holy cow. In Kali Yoga, forget Ashtanga Yoga. No semen, no flow of semen, forget it. Women, not a chance. So for Ashtanga Yoga, it's not even meant for women. It's only meant for men, and that also men who are highly sense controlled. Forget it. Kali Yoga, no chance. So the only hope, Krishna, that's why it says in end of chapter 6, Bhakti Yoga is the best process. To follow Bhakti Yoga. That's Krishna's prescription, because it's easy and it's permanent. So as this Bhagavatam verse says, that just try to worship in devotional service Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in the transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep grown desire for fruitive activities. If you do gardening, you will notice there are certain kind of plants that you don't intend to grow, but they grow anyway. They're called weeds, right? And if you cut the weeds with a scissor, it won't help. They will keep growing again because roots are not uprooted. So in the garden, you have to actually uproot those weeds in order for them to be completely removed, right? Sometimes people throw acid and all, it hurts other trees. But the point is to uproot. So similarly, lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion, these things, no matter how much tapasya you do, that's basically cutting it with a scissor. But the roots are there deep within. But when bhakti comes in, it is uprooted and then it's permanently gone. So the desire for such things are permanently gone. Like I used to be a meat eater. And there was, I never thought I could give it up. Onion, garlic, eggs, etc., etc. But coming to Krishna consciousness, it was uprooted. That tendency was uprooted, such that I was able to feel compassion. Oh my God, what was I doing? I was eating a living entity. This was a liver. That was the breast. This was the whatever parts of an animal, of a bird. Oh my God, how could I do this? But before that, it was just basically food. One doesn't even think that this is another living entity who has pain, who has family, who has feelings. It's just food. And in America, it's even better. It comes in slices and cubes. It's like you make a sandwich, you just put a slice, whether it's pork or beef or whatever else, and or a chicken, and that's it. So to you, it doesn't even come to the thought that this is a living entity. This is pain and suffering I'm causing. So, but by the mercy of Krishna, by the mercy of this knowledge, one actually becomes thoughtful. What am I doing? Oh my God, I'm hurting another living entity. Or even wasting water, or carbon footprint, or wasting electricity. I'm hurting Mother Earth, right? I'm hurting trees, wasting paper, etc. People become thoughtful. So Krishna consciousness is not just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna all the way. It is also being thoughtful of other living entities, Mother Nature, the resources given to us by Krishna, because Krishna is the root of everything, is the source of everything. So thereby we become wholesome individuals, thoughtful individuals who are in all directions trying to think of the welfare of other living entities. That's what it says, right? That one who dedicates a life, where is it? Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within and are always busy for the welfare of all living beings. Busy for the welfare of all living beings, right? And who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So, how do you give welfare to all living beings? By serving the root, by watering the root. When you water the root, all the leaves, flowers, fruits get nourished. So, similarly, because we care about all living beings, we focus on our relationship with Krishna. When we love Krishna, we love trees, we love the ant, we love the hippo, we love the sharks, we love the fish, we love the chicken. Doesn't mean we love to eat them, means we love for them to actually have their life and be happy, right? So, but when we love Krishna, we love all living entities, as well as our spouses too, right? A lot of times we love everyone but our spouses, or our parents or our siblings. We have the biggest problems happen in our household, right? So by Krishna consciousness, one learns to see the other person as part and parcel of Krishna. And thereby, rather than seeing this person as, oh, this person is causing so much trouble in my life, rather, okay, this is another person who is a part and parcel of Krishna. And somehow by karma, this person have been placed in my life, so I could learn some things. So I can build certain qualities and thereby grow in my Krishna consciousness, right? So rather than cursing the other person, we can actually see the other person as an instrument of my karma by which I deserve to, be in that kind of a relationship or that kind of a situation. But let me use this situation to grow certain qualities that will help me come closer to Krishna and become a better person, right? A person who can actually help other people also come closer to Krishna. I should probably pause and see if you have any questions. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I wanted to understand what exactly is the story and significance behind.
Soil Prabhu, can you speak up a little bit? I'm not able to hear you.
Sure. I wanted to understand what is the story and significance of Akshay Tritiya. I don't exactly know that. Also, I think today is also Parshuram Jayanti, if I'm not wrong, correct? So, just want to know what's the story and the significance.
Honestly speaking, my apologies. I don't know the details of the historical significance of Akshay Tritiya. All I know is any service done to Krishna on this day is you get many folds the result of doing any service on Akshay Tritiya. It's a very special day. It is also the day, I believe, that Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra cart, they start building the Rath Yatra cart, and the preparations for Rath Yatra start on this day. And yes, Parshuram Jayanti as well, who is the Shaktivesh avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But yeah, sorry, don't know much beyond this. My apologies.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else?
No problem.
Okay, if there are no questions, we'll move on to the next verse. 27-28. This is a very nice verse. Okay. Somebody wants to read? Shivam, you have not read anything today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure. Text 27. Sparshan Kritva Bahir Bahyam Chaksus Chaivantare Bhruvo Prana Panav Samav Kritva Nasa Bhyantara Charinav Yatindriya Mano Buddhir Munir Moksha Parana Parayana Vigatecha Bhaya Krodha Ya Sada Mukta Evasa. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in the state is certainly liberated. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I'll read a little bit of the purport. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position, qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. So we don't have to die to be liberated, right? Liberation means liberation from ignorance, liberation from the influence of Maya, liberation from the dualities, liberation from things that pull us down, right? Lust pulls us down, constantly pulling us. We want to go in this direction, but lust is saying, no, go in this direction, right? Greed, everything is like, I want to go in this direction, but it's like distracting. So liberation, that's what. So when we come to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada is saying, we understand our true position. Jive Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. That we are the servant of Krishna. Krishna is God. We are his part and parcel. We are supposed to serve Krishna. And that gives us liberation from all kinds of wrong conceptions. I'm a man, woman, rich, poor, ugly, educated, non-educated, and thus I should do this and this and that, that. These are the rituals. This is I can do, I cannot do. All of that goes away through the window, right? And what stays is my relationship with Krishna and what activities can I do that enhances, that fosters that relationship. Again, after explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of mysticism or yoga. known as Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna is giving everything. It's not like only bhakti is being spoken about. Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga is also being spoken about, right? So, many times you must have seen in my webinars, I talk about breathing and breathing out. So Krishna is actually just coming from Bhagavad Gita only, because he's saying breathing in, breathing out of pranayama. This is a part of control of the mind. When you're chanting Hare Krishna, breathing in, breathing out, all of that has to be in sync. That enables you to focus your mind. So Krishna is saying, shutting all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and the vision concentrated between the eyebrows, right? Suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostril, and thus controlling the mind and senses and intelligence, the transcendentalist. That's why I said, whenever you are in a difficulty situation, I was mentioning before, right? Angry, somebody sends you an angry message. Don't just respond back. Breathe in, breathe out. Control your mind, intelligence, anger, all of that, right? All the focus comes over here. And then once you breathe in, breathe out, maybe chant a little Hare Krishna. Even when chanting Hare Krishna, you can do this practice. I've heard from certain devotees, they do it. They're like, Hare Krishna, like they breathe in Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And they breathe out Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Now that's a long mantra. For those of you who are not used to pranayam, might not be able to hold your breath for so long. But it's a nice practice to also do. So thereby you're syncing with your breathing, the chanting of the holy name. Not necessarily you have to do it that way, but certain devotees prefer to do it and they say it's nice. Uh, but the point is, breathing has a very important role to play in controlling the mind, controlling the anger. And Krishna is also providing the Ashtanga process. The Prabhupada goes further into explaining that known as the Ashtanga process, which is divisible into 8 folds procedure. So Ashta Anga, Ashta means 8. In Sanskrit, 8 is Ashta. So Ashtanga called Niyama, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Sorry, my Sanskrit is horrible. I'll go again. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. These are the 8 processes of Ashtanga Yoga. And like I said, it's not recommended for Kali Yuga because we get stuck at the first stage only, Yama Niyama, right? Following certain rules and do's and do nots, basically. And that means celibacy is one of the important aspects. In 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed. And in the end of the 5th, it is only preliminary explained. So we'll go further details into it. In the 6th chapter is all about Ashtanga Yoga. One has to drive out the sense object such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by the Pratyahara process in yoga. And then keep the vision of the eyes between the 2 eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether. So it's kind of like this, right? So if you close your eyes, you'll fall asleep. If you keep your eyes little open, then you're neither distracted by all the objects of vision, neither you're falling asleep. It's hard. Ashtanga yoga is not the easiest thing. What they teach you at the yoga studios, that's just exercises. And we'll go further details in chapter 6. But eyes half closed, half open. Considering between the eyebrows, tip of the nose. So tip of the nose doesn't mean here. Tip of the nose actually means over here, right? In this case, it can be mistaken as here, but here. So basically, your focus is over here. You're bringing the thoughts and everything, focusing over there. Your third eye, if I may say so. Concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed eyelids. There is no benefit in closing the eyelids altogether because then there is every chance of falling asleep. You'll see if you go to a ISKCON temple at 5 a.m. in the morning, you will find devotees with their hands in the bead bag snoring. And because they close their eyes. And chanting has, meditation, it has a very calming effect on your mind. So it's very easy to fall asleep. So there's a difference between samadhi and sleeping. Samadhi is not sleeping, but but there is a very fine line that you have to traverse. And one can easily fall into sleeping when they close their eyes because they're so relaxed by chanting Hare Krishna, they fall asleep. And it happens very, very commonly. Uh, um, So nor is there benefit to opening the eyes completely because then there's a hazard of being attracted to sense objects and the breathing movement restrained within the nostril by neutralizing the upward and downward air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the supreme. The whole point of Ashtanga yoga is so we can control our senses and thereby prepare ourselves to focus on liberation supreme. But if you go to any yoga studio, they will not talk about the supreme. They will not talk about anything. They'll be talking about dog yoga. They will talk about this yoga and that yoga, but this posture, but no question about supreme. But the whole point of yoga is to extend our breath, extend our lifespan, and control our senses mechanically so that we can absorb bhakti, we can walk on the path of liberation. It's a tool to enable us on the path of bhakti, extend our lives, be healthy, take care of the body, right? So that we can move in that path. But unfortunately, generally speaking, that part is avoided, right? People don't talk about the spiritual aspect; they only talk about the bodily aspect. And now that you have a healthy body, you can do whatever nonsense you want, get sick, and come back again and do yoga. So it's basically temporary. There's no permanent aspect to it. Spirituality gives you permanent solutions. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger and thus feel the presence of the super soul in transcendental situation. Super soul as in Paramatma. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. Prabhupada have to make that jab because he first scares us a little bit by saying, "Oh, half closed eyes and this and that, and control your breathing." And then he says, "By the way, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process uh, of yoga principles." This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. Even Krishna says the same thing. After sixth chapter, where he explains the whole Ashtanga yoga process, he says, "Krishna consciousness or bhakti, I am most pleased at the easiest process." A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is better way of controlling the senses than by Ashtanga yoga. So you have to understand these purports. Srila Prabhupada is constantly keeping us focused on bhakti process. So we don't get distracted like, okay, now let's Google search uh, how to do Ashtanga yoga and Yama, Niyama, dharana, samadhi, and how can I walk on water and float on sunbeams and become very tiny and become very big. You can do it. In the yoga process, there are still people today who take bath in multiple rivers every single day, right? They will dip in Kaveri and they'll get out of Krishna River. They'll dip in Ganga, they'll get out of Yamuna River, like that. They have that yogic ability. But is that really necessary to go back to Godhead? No. Do we live for 10,000 years? No. We have only barely 60, 70 years in our lives. With that small time frame, and think about Lord Brahma's blink of an eyelid. That's our lifespan, right? 1,000 yoga cycles is one day of Brahma. 1,000 yoga cycles, one night of Brahma. So what is 60, 70 years in that? Nothing. So that spark that we get in that time frame, bhakti is the most easy and the fastest process to get the ultimate benefit, ultimate perfection in devotion and get liberated and go back to Krishna after death. That's the whole point. And be liberated in this life also while we are alive. Be liberated and help others also become liberated. All right. Thank you very much. 8:32. I'm sorry, 2 minutes late. If you have questions, you can ask in the WhatsApp group and I'll try my best to answer them. But I'll not waste anybody's time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a good night.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.